Welcome to Spiritual as Fuck.
Spiritual as fuck.
Where spirituality meets the real world. I'm Liz Volpe, social entrepreneur, psychic medium, teacher, and founder of the Intuition Academy. I am passionate about inspiring people to dream big and change the world.
I'm Diane Driscoll, a coach, facilitator, keynote speaker, and self-directed healing practitioner. I am fascinated with all things science, spirituality, and self-leadership, and love the journey of incorporating my spiritual gifts into my life and business.
We share real and raw spiritual stories, give you a safe space to challenge what's normal, and have some serious fun along the way. If the podcast isn't enough, we invite you to our monthly online events and workshops with some of the world's best spiritual teachers.
Plus, join our Spiritual Renegades community and get bonus episodes and lots of exclusive content. Everything you need to be spiritual as fuck. Liz and I are so excited to welcome back internationally acclaimed psychic medium Sean Collyns for our second year of Christmas Connections. Sean joins us for a live interview with a live online audience and some incredible live spirit connections. For those not familiar with Sean has been working as a professional medium since the young age of 18. Not only does he connect people with the spirit world during private readings and live stage shows, Sean also runs extensive programs and retreats that teach people how they can strengthen their spiritual abilities and connection to the energetic realms. Liz and I just love seeing Sean's gifts expand and evolve, and we can't wait to get an update on everything that's been happening for him over the past year. But before we delve into the episode, Liz and I would love to wish our listeners, our guests, our Spiritual Renegades online community, our event attendees, and our followers the joy of connecting with loved ones in person and in spirit over the holiday season.
Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Spiritual as Fuck. Now, this one is pretty special because it's been a year since we've had him join us, and we have the incredible Sean Collyns back today. Hi, Sean.
Hi, thank you, sir. A whole year? Are we making this a tradition or what?
We definitely are. And I tell you what, I don't know what your secret is, but you're looking younger than you did last year. So what's going on there?
I sleep hanging upside down. That's what I do.
Oh, well, you have to tell us your secrets afterwards. Now, firstly, let's just mention last Christmas Connections that we recorded a year ago is one of our most listened to episodes of all time. So well done you. And this year we did beg Sean, by the way, everyone, to come back to us, and we had to twist his arm and he did say yes. So amazing for all of us. Now, I think before we dive into all the questions, Sean, it's been a year. You look like you have been up to some crazy stuff. A few months ago, you put a post on Instagram about a UFO experience. It was the first one I've ever seen of its kind on your feed. And I remember going, whoa, wait a minute. What the hell is this about? Let's start there. Can you share?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's been multiple closets I've had to come out in my life. There's been the obvious one. There's been the mediumship one. And just recently I've come out of the UFO closet as well. No, but I really did feel like for a while I was steering clear of that because sometimes you don't want to mix the worlds. You know, you want to keep your audience with the spirit world. That's what they know you for. And some people aren't ready for UFOs. They're not ready to hear about all of that. But it's time. I've decided that we bring that into the world of mediumship because there's very similar principles in how we communicate with those beings and what we need to do energetically to bring them in close and what we need to do to create a powerful line of communication with them. So I figured, let's just do it. The world is missing it already. And I think we are really at a time where we need to have more tools to communicate with them ourselves, because I do think there's a lot of crap out there about is maybe a bit more controlled information, and that we can create our own line of communication in a way where we can interact with and experience them ourselves and start to create this stronger bond between our world and the star beings.
So you've got to tell us the story, Sean.
Oh, yes.
Yes. You can't build
Let's get
all of that
stuck
up and let's get into the details.
I didn't teasing you guys. So that time was like the most profound. There'd been a couple of times before that where I'd experienced something, but there was this moment where my sister, a very close friend of mine, and myself, we were out one night, and we were having a real fun night, having a fun time. None of us had mentioned like, oh, I'm tired, I want to go home, anything like that. But at one point, we just all stopped and looked at each other. We were like, we need to go home. And we all said it in sync with each other. And we're like, oh, okay. And we went home, and from after like a minute of coming in the door, we witnessed hours of phenomena happening. And I don't even know where to start with this story, but there was this big cloud that kind of came over and sat within the middle of the sky for hours while all the other clouds were moving past in their natural progression. And right out of the center of that cloud, we would watch like little spheres craft moving out and leaving and coming back. There was above us, like, it's just going to sound so unbelievable because when I'm saying it, I sound like a crazy person.
Sean, you're on the Spiritual as Fuck podcast. You can say anything here.
There's one moment I was looking, I was like, wait, that's got to be a plane. That has to be a plane. And as it got closer and closer, it was like 100 meters above our head, and it was not making a sound at all. It was this triangle shape. And I looked up at the metal, and it literally looks like water. Like the metal that was on that craft looked like it was fluid. It was like nothing I've seen before. And we'd watch up like further, there would be these what just looked like stars, but kept on like rearranging into different geometric shapes. Or it would be three, and they'd move into a line, and they'd move into a triangle shape. And I do have some videos, so I will share them. But the craziest thing with it is that when we were watching the videos back, we saw more things within that we didn't even see with our own eyes at the time. So we would discover like these things moving at light speed that we couldn't see until we slowed down the video. So that experience, it really like made me realize that these beings are connected to us and they are interacting with us. And from that day onwards, like once a week, I would be meditating in my room and I'd hear them say, come outside. And I'd go outside and they'd come and show themselves to me again. And it was a really powerful time where they were just like showing up weekly. And the weirdest part of it was when I was with someone who maybe wasn't quite ready to see it. Like I remember being at the beach one day with my friend, and there was this big bright light that just appeared in the sky. She was talking to me and I was like, hey. And I was trying to get her to stop so I could point it out. And the moment I was like, look up there, and she turned her head to look, it vanished. So I was like, she's not ready to see this. And I wouldn't speak about it with my friends that I knew weren't necessarily all that open to it. But I thought if they see it for themselves, they won't be able to deny it. But literally in the moment, I was like, look,
I mean, that's not fair, is it? No wonder people think we're crazy if they're doing shit like that, right? They're disappearing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do that on me. Yeah. And I remember making a very specific prediction in like a psychic journal that I had at the time. And I said, we're going to see them with these two people when they are visiting us, because I knew these two friends were coming to visit. And I wrote down this prediction. We're going to see them right after we watch this particular thing that we want to show them. And they're going to appear at that very moment. And that happened perfectly. And we showed them this like documentary we'd watch. If you guys want somewhere to start with like learning how to interact with them for yourself, I really do recommend Stephen Greer and the contact experiences of the fifth kind. Like that, he's really making waves within this world and like how to teach you how to interact with them yourself. His protocols are very, very successful. And after that time that was happening where it was just happening to me, and I didn't know what the hell was going on, but it was amazing. Once that kind of like slowed down, or it didn't happen so frequently anymore, I would go and like sit with these groups. It's so funny. They're like, oh yeah, we're just going out to something tonight. Don't worry, we'll be back later. And we'd go with this CE5 group, and we'd go out to like the darkest place where there's the least amount of light pollution, up in the back of the mountains. We'd all sit, we'd do these meditations, we'd do these protocols, and as a collective group, we would send our consciousness out and ask for the beings that were there to come and show themselves to us, interact with us. And not only did we experience so much together visually that was undeniable, but there was almost like an interdimensional overlay that would happen in those, I call them like galactic seance. And sometimes it'd be like freezing cold, and then there'd just be this warmth that would surround us. And the warmth would have this smell to it that was like nothing we'd smelt before, but we're just out in this field, and you get like physical touches and just the most incredible interactions beyond just, hoping that you'll be able to see something visually as well and interact with them on that level.
Oh my gosh, it's like the word even galactic seance. It's like, oh my, that just sounds, it's like it's a whole new term to me. And my whole body lit up as you were saying that. It just sounds phenomenal. What kind of information or downloads, did you receive anything from those interactions?
Well, we'd like ask them questions within that. And obviously you have your own interactions and everything. I remember one time it was literally like this FaceTime call where it was more of a psychic connection, like telepathic than actually seeing something. But it was like there was a projection up into the sky, and I saw this being who was like this beautiful blue female, and it was just like her face smiling back at me, but I could hear this interaction that was happening internally. But with the like crafts that would come, we'd call them like flash bulbs. And you'd say flash once for this, flash twice for that. And they'd be able to interact in that way by flashing light. So I didn't actually know that those beings were physically there, or if they had a way of sending like this energetic pulse to where we were and where we were trying to receive them from. But there was something physically that every single person who was there, and sometimes like a group of 15 or 20 people, were all seeing the same thing. So you do get to a point where you're like, okay, I definitely am not crazy if all of us.
Yes. Too much evidence around me for this. Did you get a sense for where those beings were from? Like, was there a particular star system? Was there a particular, did you get a sense for that?
It was always, different, and you get so caught up in the excitement of it that sometimes you forget. But I do remember specifically one time, like them telling us by like confirming for us that they were from like the Sirius star systems. Yeah. So that was one of them. But yeah, it was always just the excitement, and like it's kind of like with mediumship, you just do it to feel the love and you feel the connection. And sometimes you get so caught up in that beautiful moment that you forget to be like working things out,
Yeah. Curiosity goes out the window. You're just in the moment.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that it's nice to hear, a lot of people are really scared of what's going on out there. And it's nice to hear that you felt kind of more of a loving feeling and a nice feeling. Has that always been the case in these type of interactions?
Always, because, that's what you're starting with in the first place. So you're going out with this heart frequency, coherent energy that you built within the group. And that's what you're inviting a connection from. So there's nothing that's going to ever receive that doesn't have a similar intention of connection.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because out there in the world, we're suddenly seeing a lot of mediums coming forward who are able to communicate with the other side, now bringing this other element in and having experiences like what you're saying. What is your understanding in terms of where they are? Because we talk about us communicating with the spirit world, and they're here, and where are the other guys? Are we just on different dimensions? Like, what do you think?
I think it's both. I think there's intelligent, advanced beings in this universe in different places that have much better technology than we currently do, that they can initiate these interactions. I also do believe that there most definitely are beings who have the technology to move interdimensionally as well. So I think they're everywhere. And I think what would surprise people is how frequently and commonly they are here. Like, I reckon multiple people who are here in this Zoom right now probably would have seen something that they can't explain logically. There's no actual explanation for, and no one wants to sound like a crazy person. But, I got over that a long time ago, apparently.
But I think it's so interesting. What I love about this is that, yes, we might think we're going crazy. We might think it's only us. But the fact now that, like, for you, you're an established and very credible medium. So you have such a trusted audience anyway. There's so many people who trust in you, trust in your gifts. And then because now you're opening up to this new area of connection, that just allows people to trust into that. Well, if Sean's doing this, it must be true. If Sean's doing this, it must be okay. And to Liz's point, if there's more and more mediums that are, going into connections in that way as well, it just helps us take that leap of faith for the people who are, maybe are skeptical or feel that's a little bit scary. I know for me, I've had my own experiences, so I'm all for it. I love everything that you're saying on it, but I really do love it's almost like for those of us who are awakening or, continually awakening, it allows then that there are trusted voices that are coming to us that are telling us about this. Then now it's more a case of we're ready for it. It's if there's overwhelming evidence, then we're going to start believing in it that little bit more, even if we haven't had the experience ourselves, or even if we have and we've dismissed it, because so many of us just say, oh, well, maybe that didn't happen. Oh, that might have been a dream, or I might have just been my eyes, or, a light in the sky. Did you ever have anything when you were younger? Do you recall anything, any experiences or, UFO or UAP interactions when you were a smaller child?
Not so much, no. There was one where I was maybe a teenager, the first time I saw something that shouldn't be there, but I did that exact same thing. It was like, oh, that's going to be a flare. A flare that come down from the sky at lightning speed that's green and just created this big orb as it's landed. Obviously, that's a flare.
Defies gravity, defies the laws of physics, but I'm just going to dismiss it anyway.
Yeah, it was Alphabet. That's who it was.
Do you think that there's going to be this big grand reveal one day that some people say where all the crafts are going to come down and we're like, wow?
I think it depends on where it comes from as to whether it's real or not. Like, if it's Channel 7 that's telling us, I don't think I'll be as trusting. I do think that within maybe some of our lifetimes, like, we will be interacting with them on a physical level, or we will get to see and meet them, or we might be ready for that. I do feel like that is getting much, much closer, and that we are going to become a part of, like, the galactic interconnectedness of everything rather than just everything here. And I mean that more than what it has already happened. But, as well, on that, I think that they interact with us for a long time spiritually, and maybe they just appear to us in a way that we're ready to see them. And I think a lot of spirit guides are actually star beings. I think that a lot of the souls that we are connecting with, they might just be appearing to us in a way that we're ready to receive them. Because if they come as this green skin, black-eyed thing, we're going to freak out because we're not familiar with that. So they might come in like a more human appearance, or they may come through in that way because that's how they'll be able to remain connected to those people who aren't quite ready to, accept it in that broader spectrum.
Yeah. Have you felt any difference? Like, are there any discernible differences between connecting to spirits as loved ones who have passed, in comparison to that, to these, star beings or intergalactic beings? Do you notice anything different in how you connect, or the feeling, the senses that you get from that?
I definitely do feel the difference between interacting with a consciousness that is incarnate versus discarnate. So a being that is physically holding their consciousness in an existence that has a start to an end to it, versus a consciousness that is a soul.
Well, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I feel like there's a million questions that I can ask after that statement.
Absolutely. Can you dive into that a little bit more, Sean? So when you say incarnate, because where my head went was, well, if a loved one has passed on, they're no longer, they're no longer incarnate in their body. So how do you differentiate between the two of those?
Well, there was an experience that I had with my very good friend and colleague Diane Thomas, who was with me on my Bali retreat this year. And when we were on that retreat, we went into the pyramids of Chi, and they're in Bali. For anyone who doesn't know them, they're like these pyramids that have been built for the purposes of ancient sound healing. And we all went and had this amazing experience. But while I was in that, I had this being come to me who I described as like this dark-skinned man who had like this shiny glimmer or glittery effect on his skin, and he looked almost like humanoid but had a bigger head, basically. And he was talking to me, and I could hear his voice like like he was making sounds that sounded like that. And I was like, oh, it's a bit weird, like what's going on here? But he felt like an incarnate being that was reaching out and communicating and interacting with my consciousness. And then when I came back, I was a bit like, oh, I wonder what that was, or if that's like a spirit guide or something. And then I said to Diane, oh, I had this being come to me. And then she's like, the one with the dark skin that's glittery in the head who talks like this?
No way.
We both were lying next to each other, and we had the exact same experience. The only difference was she literally saw a craft come down in her mind's eye and him step out of it. And I guess I just kind of caught on once he was already there. But we were both like, he was trying to say his name to us. It was like Ramanda. And we were saying that kind of sound. We're like, yes, that was it. And all through the week, I had been getting this image of the Eye of Ra. It's like, the Eye of Horus, the Egyptian symbol. Anytime I would close my eyes, no matter what I was thinking about, if I was thinking, man, I'm hungry, when am I going to get some food in me? I'd close my eyes, I'd see the Eye of Ra in my mind. And it was just like, I had no idea what it meant. I wondered if it was just this activation that was happening. But then later that night when Diane was in bed, she pieced it all together, and she's like, oh my God, this is Amun-Ra. Amun-Ra.
Oh, yes, the sounds of the name, yeah.
Yeah, and he's in Egyptian history as this god of the sun. And we both felt like this is this being that is incredibly ancient in our terms of a lifespan. Like they have been in an incarnate form for thousands of years. And when he came to us, we knew there was this correlation to Egypt. We were in the pyramid shape when it happened. And when she realized, I was like, oh my God, that makes perfect sense. That's why I was seeing this symbol, because he was interacting with us all week. And in that moment, that was the perfect time for him to come and fully introduce himself in a way that was when we had enough space in our mind to experience him in that way.
I'd love to see your journal, Sean. That's all I kept thinking, like, Jesus, can you imagine all the stories that you've got? I'm just interested to ask, did you call your family after that and go, oh, guess what just happened to me tonight? Like, do you tell people this stuff?
I will tell them at some point, I suppose. Maybe they'll hear it.
Wow. Oh, it's just amazing. So do you feel like we all get those type of like signs, that type of communication generally? Because we talk a lot about getting signs from our loved one in spirit, and that might be via angel numbers or, that bird or that butterfly that lands near us. Do you feel that actually is happening to us at the same time?
With the star beings or with...
Just generally with all of these other people out there?
Oh, of course. Everyone can open up that line of communication. It's not just mediums. It's not just people who have a existing skill within a certain area. I definitely feel that everyone can open up that line of communication. Everyone can interact with them, and it's not limited to anyone who's special or anything like that. I don't believe in that at all.
Mm. It's interesting to watch you actually, because as you're telling these stories, you really light up. Diane, do you notice that as well?
Totally see it. And it's like even the reaction, I feel like viscerally respond to what you're saying as well. And there's almost like a ping pong effect that happens. You're telling the story, we're responding to it. It's just, you're definitely, and I know the there's sense making that needs to happen to things that that are happening in the moment. But for you, you are a natural born teacher as well. So I know that at some point that translates into, okay, here's whether it's your protocol for, connecting with star beings, or you will eventually end up teaching a lot of this as well. And I'm just interested because when you mentioned Diane Thomas there, so to just shift gears slightly here, I know that you're doing this retreat in Bali with there's 4 psychic mediums together, and Diane, who you do a lot of work with, all 4 of you are bringing people together to teach, which is, so like there's Tony Stockwell and then Probert. Yeah. All 4 of you, like that, they're big names in Bali being able to do this. So will star beings be, featuring in your psychic mediumship training there as well?
Yeah, it's so exciting. Well, I'm taking a group of people up into the mountains to do what we've been talking about, like gathering and sending that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we got the main mediumship event with all those incredible mediums joining me, which is just like an honor to work alongside them. And then I decided that's not going to be enough for me. So I'm going to take a smaller group up into like Mount Kintamani in Bali, where it's really beautiful, clear skies. And we're going to spend a couple extra days just focusing on that and connecting into the star beings.
Oh my goodness. We will be sharing those details to everyone listening today, by the way. I got to spend a few days with you earlier this year, obviously with Tony Stockwell, and you taught alongside him. And let me tell you, Sean is just the best, can I say? He's amazing. And I can only imagine how amazing that retreat is going to be. Maybe you could save Diane and I a spot.
Yeah, let me.
Oh my gosh. It's like, I think everybody will go with high expectations now, thinking, okay, a visit to the pyramids of Chi and meeting Amun Ra in the middle of this experience.
Yeah, we can't guarantee those things, but it's beautiful nonetheless.
So also, I think one of the things Liz mentioned there, and it just made me think about, so talking about your journal and how good it would be to, have to flick through the pages. So this time last year, Liz had one of her moments, which I'm so used to, where Liz had an intuitive download. She has this psychic hit, and she mentioned to you that she could see a book in your future. Fast forward, I don't know how many months it was, but I remember seeing it obviously on Instagram, the announcement that you are signing with Hay House and you are going to be, you're going to be publishing a book. Can you give us an insight or an update on how that's going?
Yeah, thank you so much, Liz. I do hold me solely responsible for this all happening.
I try my best.
No, I did. Once you pointed that out, I was like, oh my God, you did predict this, didn't you? Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. I have always been such an admirer of anything that has come out of that company, all the people that they sign with. It's always so valuable. So I always was like, if I could do it with Hay House, I totally would write a book. And then they literally just like landed in my DMs in serendipitous way and was like, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I was like, yes, actually, I would be open to do that with you.
Secretly, you're like, yes,
let me think for all of 3 seconds.
Yeah. I thought it was a scam. I literally thought it was a scam at first because they just went into like, the contact section on my website and then forwarded it over to me. And I was like, surely not. Like, I was literally just talking about this in the last 2 days that they would be the ones who I would absolutely be overjoyed to do it with. And then they just reached out to me. I was like, surely not.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm not surprised, obviously. I feel like, oh my God, I mean, I can't wait to read that. And in terms of like you as a medium, you're incredible teacher for a start, and you're just such a natural medium in terms of even like how you deliver information. That's kind of what stands out for me about you. So of course you're writing a bloody book for Hay House. Going into kind of the spirit world, because obviously we're going to have a little taste of this soon. Tell us your story regarding and your beliefs regarding the soul's journey. Because obviously there's a lot of different views and opinions out there. What do you believe in terms of life, death, where we go, where we float around for a little while?
Big one.
I know, right? Sorry.
I've been such a seeker in trying to understand this with the spirit world. Like I have sat with them and just been like, show me how it works. Like I want to know like how to understand it better, so that I can help people to be more connected to you as well. But I really do think that ultimately it is something that our egos and our human can't entirely wrap our heads around while we are here. And I do truly believe that the greatest part of our soul still exists within the same place it always has, which is within the spirit world. And it's like it is holding a focal point in this physical incarnation here, but this is just one aspect of our soul. And when we do that work and we become more expansive and we allow more of that to become embodied within our human, that's where memories of other lifetimes become accessible to us, because those versions of ourselves are still existing in that same place, which is in the spirit world, as well as almost like independent expressions of our consciousness. So when I go back there, I'll always be Sean. This version of myself will always be Sean, will always have the love and the interactions and the relationships with people I have had. Even as my soul goes into other incarnations, Sean will stay in that same place. You know, so I think we are a collective of spirits, basically. And the more we become embodied within our soul self, the more knowledge, power of our soul that we're able to gather, which is what the book is all about. So right till 2026.
Okay.
Oh gosh, we'll be counting down the days. You need a big timer up on your website with the countdown on it. So can I ask on that, do you view it almost as, sorry, this is 3D language, but like parallel lives, like that we have multiple parallel versions and lives of expressions of our souls that are occurring at the same time, because time doesn't exist.
Yeah. And I do, in the same sense, even though time is not linear, there is still a progression that happens for our soul as well. So there is still an expansion that happens, but it is ultimate presence. And within like the way we perceive time, I don't think it's the same at all. I think that the next lifetime that we have could be in ancient Egypt. You know, there's not necessarily this, I was here, but I do believe the main reason the only lifetimes we truly remember easily, particularly kids and everything like that, are other human experiences that we've had, because that's the only thing that is relatable to us at that time naturally. But I don't think that is all that we have had, just because they're the ones that we can relate to and get a hold of a bit easier.
Yeah. Sean, do you remember any past lives?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, tell us about those.
Well,
get out your popcorn, folks.
I think that there's often dreams that you have where you tap into something and you go, that was real. That wasn't me as this version of myself, but that was a version of myself that was real. And I do remember one where I was speaking of the star beings and all of this world of things. I was in a planet that had like pink sand, and I had this remembrance of this interaction that I had with someone there. But I actually have had one of my past lives very like validated, because I was my mum's brother who was born, and he was only here for about 3 or 4 months, and he passed away in a cot death. But one time, it was in COVID, and I was just watching like a program, and advert for nappies, like baby diapers, came on, and all of a sudden I had this flashback to myself as a baby, and I was like, oh, I'm in a cot. And then I saw this person moving towards me, and it was my grandmother, but in a way I'd never seen her before. I was like, I don't know her in this way, but that is her, and it was her younger self. And then it all kind of clicked together in that moment that that was me who came into her life at that time, and that I didn't get to stay here. And the craziest part about it, his name was Dean, Dean. And if you just S on the front instead, my name. My gran and I, we've always been like, she's been accused of favoritism when it comes to me.
Favorite grandchild.
And she looked after me a lot as a baby as well. While my like parents and sister were traveling, I ended up back with her very serendipitously. And I think that she really attached to me, and it was very healing for her when I was a baby that was staying with her, because that was her most recent child before that time. Like, it was her youngest that passed away. And naturally, obviously, it was like the most traumatic thing in her life. So in that same memory that's coming back to me, I was like, I remembered the moment that I was in the spirit world, and I decided that I needed to come back into her life as well. Like, I had awareness of that plan in the moment it was made.
Oh my gosh.
I find that phenomenal, because I've often heard that if a child dies suddenly at a very young age, they often choose to come back into that same family, and often as a grandchild. But the fact that you're saying this firsthand, that that's a remembrance that you have in your own, and just even that connection between you and your grandmother, she, you know, whether she said it or not, she probably sensed or felt something in that connection as well, that was, you know, that gave her comfort for over the loss of the baby as well. Like, that's
definitely.
Wow.
And you know what about this helps me explain my last point, which was that like our soul is still existing within the same place it always has. Is that like spirit showed me, this is how I learned this. They showed me that when the time comes that my gran goes back to the spirit world, she will still reunite with Dean. She will still reunite with that baby that she lost, even though he and I are one and the same, because that expression of my soul is not with me here. It's still existing in that same place.
Oh my gosh. I don't know whether anybody else's brain is scrambled, but like I'm visualizing this kind of like oversoul, if that's what we want to call it.
Yeah.
There's expressions of it coming in, and that there's only a certain amount of that we're expressing in any physical body at any given time. But how beautiful is that, just to be able to think that, yes, she doesn't miss out on that experience when her time comes, that, you know, to be reunited. There's so much comfort in that as well.
Yeah.
It's like, and I just like, I'm in so much in awe of your gift, Sean. Just, you know, it's beautiful that you have these experiences as well, but you having gone through that with yourself and sense making, you know, what is going on in the spirit world and our connection to it, but then to be able to bring that to everybody else, it's just so powerful. And I know that that's what we're going to kind of prepare everybody for shortly. We're just going to get everybody ready for you to, you know, to bring those beautiful moments to people. So it's, I think it's the perfect point. Liz, what do you reckon? Just to, Sean, we'll give you a little bit of a break. But before we do, I just want to say thank you so much for, I guess, the layers of Sean, the new information that we're learning about you as you're continuing to evolve and grow and expand your spiritual gifts. And then obviously that has a ripple effect out into each one of us who know and love you. It's like you bring us along that journey as well. So it's just fantastic. And I hope we can make an annual event of this, because Liz and I are definitely very attached. It's like we couldn't imagine Christmas now without Sean.
Christmas and aliens together is perfect.
Christmas and aliens. Who knows what we're going to have next year, Liz? Who knows?
Oh God.
I want to connect with my Arcturian family. we could. There's stranger things could happen.
Maybe they'll be coming through in the den that time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
It brings me so much joy if there's anything that I can share with people that helps them to bridge a stronger connection to the spirit world, then it makes it all worthwhile for me. So it brings me so much joy.
So we are incredibly lucky to have Sean with some of our amazing listeners right now here with us to do some very, very special Christmas connections. Sean, thank you so much for sharing your gift with all of our Spiritualists for community. And I'll hand over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And I am so, so excited to connect into the spirit world for each of you. The beautiful thing about this is I have no idea what the hell is ever going to happen either. So I just got to work it out, and I need you guys to just work with me, and we'll see where they're guiding us. We'll see where the intelligence is bringing us through. But because it is Christmas, I do want to guide you guys into just a space where you can feel your loved ones gather with you, even if it isn't just the slightest way, just within a couple of minutes. So if you can each just, I know you're like excited and you're like, I hope they come through, but it really does depend on the energy that you are coming forward with that can help them to bridge a gap and for a connection to come through and be facilitated for you. So if you can all just shut your eyes, take a deep breath in, try and not worry about what's going to happen, who's going to come through, how they're going to show up, what you need to wait for, and just sit with some presence in your heart and just visualize that this beautiful beam of pure white light is starting to shine outwards from your core. Your own spirit is manifesting within this space. And notice how just in visualizing that, there's some kind of momentum or movement that starts to happen, like a fluttery sensation that starts to build within that space. And visualize that continue to expand and grow and shine brighter and brighter and brighter, and feel the glow of your soul self manifesting within you. Take a deep breath into it and just know that as quickly as you can intend on doing something, it is happening. So see all of that light growing, see it filling up the space around you. And within that light, allow yourself to send a message out to the spirit world and say, come and gather with me here. Come and join me. Come and be with me. Allow me to feel you. And then maybe one soul in particular that you just want to feel that extra little bit closely here in this moment. And what I'd love for you to do is just feel as they place their hand upon your shoulder, and without allowing anything to upset you, remember what it feels like to be in their presence. Remember the joy that you experience with this person in their life. Allow yourself to feel them come especially close. You may even see some kind of symbol. You may have some kind of sentiment dropping into your mind. You may hear their laugh happening. You may just feel their essence is gathering with you here. And just allow yourself to be embraced by that, no matter how strong you feel it or how much you're questioning it. Just allow yourself to be embraced by that. And ask them to show you something that is just a message of their love, of their presence, of their ongoing connection with you in your life. And just tell them that you're going to trust any communication that they're trying to send to you, and that you are going to try and sit within this energy as well to help them bridge a gap to me in being able to bring them through as well. And just place your hand over your heart and have so much gratitude for all of your spirit team, all of your loved ones that are gathering, and allow them to sit with you in this space as you bring yourself back, keeping your energy as engaged as possible. And you can open your eyes, and I suppose we're ready to get started now then. So I am going to allow my own energy to build, and I'm just going to relay to each of you what impressions I get, what visions I get, and throughout whatever comes through, if you can understand it, you can let me know, and hopefully we'll be able to figure out where somebody belongs. Keep in mind as well, you may be receiving so much and be able to relate to so much of the information that is coming through for somebody else as well. And that is the intelligence of the spirit world in the way they come through. So I'm going to shift my awareness to them and see who's willing to come forward and gather with me first and foremost. Okay. So as I took a moment before to go and turn my camera off and get in the zone, so I turned around and noticed there was this very fascinating lady who was already waiting quite eagerly. I definitely feel there's some kind of connection to the name Sue or Susan with her. There's an S sounding name, but she's got quite this style to her. I feel like she loves anything colorful, anything bright, and she's kind of like short and stout, but she's dancing around. And I'm aware of a man that's coming through alongside her as well. So before I go any further, could anyone understand this lady? Big, bright personality, connection to the name Sue, Susan, that she would want to bring up, that is just like a bit of a quirky, fun, spirited lady. So Elaine, you can take this.
So my grandma's name was Susan.
Okay. And do you remember her having like pointed glasses, always having beautiful hair? She's kind of got this like 50s style to her, or 50s inspired style to her. I think that's the way she comes forward. Maybe you understand stories with your grandma of dancing, like even going to dance classes, because that's the way she comes through to me. She's like dancing in the background. I feel like she's dressed up for that as well. But I feel that she wishes to talk of a necklace that has a flower on it. Do you have that?
Mom, but I bought it for her before she died.
Oh, beautiful. I didn't quite hear that part, but it sounds like we're on the right track. I know that she just comes through with such brightness, and she wants to envelop herself around you now. And she wants to talk about babies. I don't know if there's babies coming in the family. I don't know if there's someone close to you now that is considering that she would also be very close to, but she's saying, I'm instrumental in that process. Now, would you understand a David and an Edward connection that she'd want to bring up as well?
No, I don't want that.
Did she have brothers?
She did, but I never met them. They passed before.
Take those names with you and see if they end up placing or making sense around her earlier life, because I feel like one of her brothers passed quite young, and she's wanting to show people that she's back with him, because she's just a very family-orientated lady, isn't she? I feel like she is the one who wants to have everyone in her house. She wants to do the whole kit and caboodle, and I feel like Christmas actually is a very important time with your grandma as well, and that she wants to talk about the decorations that she used to use that is still on the Christmas tree. And I feel like everyone's got a bit of something. Everyone's got some of her Christmas things that they put out at Christmas time, and she feels like she gets to be everywhere because of that.
Yeah, but she used to spend every Christmas with our family. So it was quite important. Yeah. And she passed away on Christmas Day a few years ago.
Oh my gosh. Wow. No wonder she is showing up for this Christmas connection first and foremost. But she just wants you to know, like, she's her younger self again. She's dancing and she's having a ball, and she's saying, they can't kick me down anymore. She is remembering having some real problems with her walking, though. Is that right? She's saying she's pointing at her legs and she's saying, these bloody things, they were causing me a lot of grief. I feel that
She was 99.
Oh, wow. Okay. And do you remember her having quite a lot of, like, you could see she'd bruise very easily in her legs, and there was a lot of swelling very often, because I feel like she had a few falls, and she's saying, I took a few bonks before.
She had 2 hip replacements in 3 years.
Well, she's saying, she's making this joke that my gran says, the one I was just talking about earlier. She's like, you can't kill weeds. Couldn't get rid of me that easily. Does that sound like her?
Yeah, definitely.
Got a dry sense of humor, and she's self-deprecating, and I just love her, and she's so much fun. I know she wants to send a happy birthday to somebody's son.
It's my dad's birthday tomorrow.
Okay. Is this her son? Okay.
He's passed away as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's saying my birthday and son. So if it's your dad's birthday tomorrow, who is her son, he must be the man who's hanging around her as well. And when he comes forward, he feels like, he makes me laugh. He feels like a real character. He feels like someone who may come off as a little bit guarded at first, but then he's just the most silly, funny man, and I feel like he just loves to have fun with people. And I don't think he would have been a big believer in what we're here to do.
No, definitely not.
Like, he's walking in here reluctantly with his arms closed, and he's like, "All right." But I would describe him as like burly. I don't know why that comes through. Like, describe him as like this presence, which feels a little bit manly, but really he's just this goofy, fun person that loves everyone. And I know he's talking about the illness that happened for him had gone to two different ends of his body.
Yeah.
And he's saying that it was in my stomach and it was also in my head. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. He had cancer and it was in his stomach and then it went to his brain.
Okay. And he's saying that where it started wasn't where he finished. He's saying the second one was what took him to the spirit world. And I know he apologizes for the timing of his passing because it should have been a time that was celebrated as well. He's saying it was an anniversary or a birthday, or there was something right then that he didn't want to spoil.
It was close to one of my siblings' birthdays, I think. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I feel like he brings up someone who now associates that special occasion with his passing, and he says, I don't want them to do that. I don't want them to feel that way anymore. And would you understand him bringing up someone who's Craig, it's a sound like that.
No, what?
I wonder if I'm switching gears or someone's barging their way in here. But your dad did show me a very clear symbol, of flags being hung up. I don't know what it means. They look kind of like confetti flags or flags that would go up at some kind of wedding or a birthday party, baby shower. Maybe it's a baby shower. That's where I'm landing with it. So maybe he's wanting to bring up like celebration, family. And would it make sense that someone has been trying to bring children into this world but has been struggling? It's been a great challenge for them.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's what he says. It's like we're all working to help out with that. We're all putting energy into that. So don't give up before the miracle happens. That's kind of the way it comes through. And I know that your dad says that there was a time where he feels like he pulled back from you because he felt like he made some mistakes with you, is what he says. Does that make sense? I know he's saying, I'm sorry, I never should have pulled back, but I felt like at the time ashamed of what I was doing, and I felt like you'd be better off without me. I felt like it'd be better off if I took a step back. But he says, I wish I hadn't have done that because you were my pride and joy. And he says that you understood me in a way that nobody else did. And he's saying we've got the same humor, and that's why we've got the same traits, and that's why we pissed each other off as well.
Yeah, I understand that.
And I know he says that she didn't know if I could hear her or not, but I knew she was there when she stroked my hand and she gave me permission to let go. Do you remember him being unconscious in that moment?
Yeah, I do. I was sitting with him. Yeah.
He's saying, that's exactly what I needed to be able to let go. So thank you. And he was done with fighting, and he had put up quite a good fight, I feel.
That's exactly right, Sean.
Okay. Well, both of them are here. I know that they both want to wrap their arms around you and say, we're going to be working our butts off to give you as many signs as possible around this special time of the year. And good news about the babies is coming just after Christmas. So pass that on to where it's meant to go and know that they absolutely adore you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you so much. Thank you for receiving their love. I don't want to get caught up on this Craig or Greg sounding name, but would anyone understand a man who went like thin on top quite early in his life and passed away at a young age as well? Maybe around, when I say young, I mean he passed before his time, sooner than he should have.
Yeah, the name doesn't ring a bell, but it's actually my husband's name. But I lost an uncle, and he passed away when he was in his late 20s.
Okay.
Brilliant young man. I barely know him, and I wish I could know him more because I'm sure we would have a beautiful relationship. I was just a baby when he passed. I was I was 18 months or something like this.
Mm.
But I know he's been talking a lot to me before taking the decision to leave us.
Okay, well, and did you say that the name that I said could potentially make sense with your husband?
That's my husband's name, yeah. Greg. My husband is Greg and my uncle is Olivier.
Oh, okay, I'm happy with that. So you can definitely place that. And sometimes they do bring up the name of people who are living as well. So Greg is your husband. I actually feel like there's a lady who's saying Greg's name. I wonder if he's lost a grandmother that was very close to him in the more recent years. Because I feel like there's this sweet lady who wants to come and say, Greg's for me. Greg's for me. So would you understand who that could be, first of all?
The lady with my uncle.
Yeah, so it's a lady for Greg, a lady for your husband who's passed in the more recent years. A grandmother who would have wanted to spoil him. That's the way it comes through to me. There's a lady.
He really loved his grandma, but it's more like I think 20 years ago. So yeah, it's
Okay. Maybe that feeling I'm getting is more like the closeness of it. Maybe it's the importance of it. But I just feel Greg is a name that is being said by this lady who absolutely loves him and wants to wrap her arms around him. So if he was very close with that grandmother, I must be going off a little bit there. But I do want to bring through your uncle here because I feel like he has been infused into so much of your family. And even though you didn't get to spend any time with him in your memorable upbringing, like he does feel like he has been very much a part and a piece of everything. And I feel like he sends you birds. I feel like the birds come from him. And it's like he takes you on as kind of like a daughter in a way. He takes you on as like, he's the one looking after you in the spirit world. And he has been since he passed away. He feels like he is very, very proud of you in the way that he comes forward. And it kind of just happens in this way of acknowledging that the connection you feel with him is genuine and that he really does feel that as well. Because I feel like you question that, like, oh, is it really him who is here? Is he really making that effort to come forward and connect with me? And I feel like his passing affected people in a way that was very awful because of how shocking it was. And I feel like he wants people to know that he didn't feel it. It wasn't painful. One moment he was here and the next he was gone. And I feel like there's this gruesome detail that I really don't want to go into, but it's like he needs someone to know that he wishes he could take the image out of their minds of having to go and identify him, of having to go and see him after that time. And I feel like he says, I wish I could take that back because it wasn't me anymore. I don't want them to have that vision of me because he comes through in this bright way, very smart, very intellectual, and he doesn't want people to think that he was robbed of his life. I know that people feel that way, like he didn't get to have his life, but he says that I had a beautiful life, even though it was taken too soon, but he's still very much part of everything. And he says there's a photo of him up in maybe his mum's house, there's a photo of him up in his mum's house and he fiddles with the radio that is right next to that, or fiddles with the buttons that are right next to that photo. Does that make sense? Like where that photo is, there's a stereo right next to it.
Yeah, that's at my grandma's house.
Yeah, he's saying I push the buttons and I try and get their attention and she gets lost with the technology and it makes a mess and then people have to help her, but I'm still making any effort I can to send those messages. But yeah, he comes through with like what is this? Would you understand someone in the family who lost a son, a baby?
That may be me. That was a miscarriage, but I have this knowing that it was a boy.
A boy. That's what I'm saying, but I don't know whether he is showing me that there is this baby that didn't quite make it here that he's looking after and saying, I'm with the baby boy. But it's like he's saying, he's coming back. That's kind of the feeling that I get. And I'm reminded of this exact same story that I've just shared of the timing just not quite being right for that soul. The timing just not quite being right, but he's connected to that soul and wants you to know that as well. So I'll leave his love with you there, and thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you.
He's a very beautiful soul to work with, so it's a pleasure to get to meet there. And I do want you, Eglantine, is that right? I do want you to listen to this because there's a dog intruding on your reading, so I'm wondering if it is for you, but I feel that there is this dog and scratching at my leg, trying to get my attention. And I do see like a darker color when I look down. I'm not quite confident with that, but maybe there'd be chocolatey tones, gray tones within this dog that's coming forward. I feel like medium in my size, and I do feel like this dog it's just got the most sweet nature and took a downhill turn very, very quickly. There wasn't that much warning for its passing. So is that all making sense for you as well?
Yeah, could it be a husky cross?
Definitely. At Grey,
Yeah, grey wolf.
that's who it is. So know that your uncle has this soulmate dog with you as well. And this dog,
that's
very
nice.
sweet. And the dog passed when everyone was going away, when everyone was traveling.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Because I feel like the timing of the passing spoiled something or made it more complicated, made it a difficult thing.
Yeah, I was traveling and my dad had put her down because she was in a lot of suffering, but he couldn't tell me straight away. He waited for me to come back for my holiday.
Okay. Because I feel the traveling is brought up and that dog wants you to know that she is bonded with your soul extremely quickly. And I wonder if you have her footprints, paw prints somewhere that you look at, because that was the first way she got my attention, was showing me her paw print. That might just be my reference for a dog, but know that she wants to tell you that she loves you just as much as you loved her, and that she's sorry that she left when you didn't get to say goodbye.
Thank you so much.
The pets are what get me as well.
She was the cutest.
It's too much. I can't handle it. I can be professional and be like, no, don't get emotional, Sean. You're here to do a job. But when the pets come.
She was such a sweetheart. Thank you so much, Sean.
All right. I do feel like I have one more connection that I'd love to do. And I have this man coming forward. I feel I am somebody's father who is coming forward for my daughter. And I feel this man would have been so well groomed to the point where he was like accused of being a little bit vain. But it's funny because he doesn't look like he's this, no offense. He doesn't look like this like beautifully handsome man or anything like that. I just feel like he really loves to look after himself, comb his hair, put on the aftershave. He like enjoys the process of grooming himself. I do feel there would have to be like Italian or European background with this man. I feel there's this sense of like European family, European background, and threads carrying through that make you feel like you're walking into a house that's like an Italian family house, or it's got that presence to it. And I feel like he is also quite short in the way he comes forward. I feel like he would rest his hands over his stomach like this and just observe. Also quite an intelligent man, a well-studied man. I feel like he was very fascinated by war-related things. I wonder if there's like warplanes, books that he had on things of that theme, but there's a memory of that is coming to me. But I'm hearing a Jane come from like the other side with this as well, like a Jane connection, and Margaret Ann, something about that's flooding into my mind as well. And Evie, would you recognize those names that are coming through? Forgot what I said now.
My dad's passed and he's short, always looked after himself, thought he was he said he was 5'8", he was actually 5'4".
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law, Jean, it's her birthday today, and I asked for them both to come together.
Sweet. So Jane is what I said, but it could very well be Jean that's coming in from the other side. And would you understand Jean having a sister who was Mary or Margaret Ann?
No, she had 3 brothers.
3 boys. Do you understand that name around her at all?
Margaret, yeah, she had a few Margarets around her.
A few Margarets. There's one that's coming forward with her that feels like she wants to be included with or wants to be placed alongside. So let's see if I can see how. Feel like they know I'm getting ready to finish, and they're all like, "No, come on!" But I feel so. Your dad, you would understand definitely this short. Do you understand the reference to the war?
Yeah, he was like born 1926, so he was there during the war, was a prisoner of war.
Right. Wow. Okay. And your dad wants to say a big thank you to you. I feel that's really important. I feel like I am going with him here. And he goes, just tell her thank you and how grateful I am for everything she did for me. And he's saying, you were the one who held everyone together when he left. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I know that he just thinks the world of you. And he says, no one acknowledges this enough about her, how selfless she is and how much she does for everyone. And he just wants to point that out within you. And he's taking me to this place where there's like mist. You know, when you're like driving along a country road and there's mist that covers the roads, I feel like he's taking me out to this location, to the land where you would have memories of him going through and visiting where there would be mist. Is that making sense?
Yeah, we used to always go fishing together, and it was always in a special place that we went together, and it was just our favourite place. We called it heaven on earth.
Oh, wow. Because he shows this place to me as where he spends all his time now. And anytime you think of him, anytime you want to know where he is, obviously that's exactly where he would be. And I think on that drive out there was often this mist covering the road. And do you remember having like a blue hand-knitted beanie?
Oh, he had a very big blue floppy hat that he'd wear fishing. Yeah.
There was little like dangly things hanging off it on the side.
If I could show you one of the last photos we had together, it was with him in his overalls and this big floppy hat. He looked like he was 110 because of the hat.
Right. He's wanting to bring my attention to this hat, so I feel there's significance to it. I feel like it was well past its use by date. That's what comes through to me.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And I can't help but notice that like bookshelf behind you.
Yeah.
He's saying, but there's a photo of me on there.
Oh,
They're quite a significant
yeah.
Oh, there he is. You usually have that on that shelf. You just brought it over with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm happy with that. And Jean, I don't want to leave her out. She is a bit more soft-spoken, I have to say. She doesn't get much of a word in with your dad here. But Jean, come closer here. I know that there's been like an angel figurine put out for her. There's something about that, like a little figurine of an angel that someone has placed out next to her photo to remember her, to keep her close. I know people feel that she passed before her time too. Is that right?
No, she thought she did. She was in her 80s, but she was not ready to go. So she used to count backwards for her birthday. So once she turned 79, she'd go, I'm 78, I'm 77, I'm 76.
Okay. I'm getting a bit more of a feel for her as you say that. And I'm wondering if this quietness that I'm feeling for her is more actually stubbornness. I wonder if she was quite like, I'm doing things my way and blah, blah, blah. That feels like why I'm trying, like, come on, what are you waiting for?
Oh my God.
A real character. I know there is this comment on passing before her time. If that's an inside joke, I'm glad she's able to acknowledge that with you. And she's talking about being there with bells on. I don't know what that means. I feel like because it's Christmas time, because it's there, this must be a reference to this, but there's something about actually maybe more literally having bells on something. I wonder if at Christmas time you remember her wearing something, putting something on that had little jingle bells on it.
She was always dressed in the Christmas spirit. I mean, Christmas was all about her. She made Christmas the best.
Okay. Because she's got bells on. I have to say that about Christmas, she's got her bells on and she's excited. I feel like she was doing it at the start of November. I know that she'd make a real effort to like create things for everyone. And I feel like she'd come up with different ideas every year that people could all do something that was her grand plan around Christmas time. She'd have like some kind of, feels almost like a treasure hunt to her. She would create this thing and then everyone would come into that and it would be this way that everyone would connect to her through. She doesn't like to be up on her feet for too long. Standing up, I'm like, I need to sit down, and I feel like she would be just up for a moment or two and then she's like, okay, get me back down. I want to be in my chair. You know, that's my happy place, and don't try and let me up for at least another half an hour.
And she would have her feet up too.
Right. Oh, of course. Like, where's the cucumber for my eyes as well? I need all the treatment. She's just funny and a real character. I feel her loss has left a big gap in everyone's life, and she wants people to know that she's still very much around. They don't get too deep. Is that right?
No.
Because they're like, they're just here to have fun. They're just here to laugh. They're just here to play and to have fun with everyone. And I feel like they're a little bit guarded when it comes to vocalizing that love. But I feel like everyone knows how much of it is there. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And there's a ton of it that they both want to pour through me now. So I'll leave all of that with you there. And thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. They're also an absolute pleasure to work with. There's this lady who's like sitting in the corner knitting something in between having sips of her tea. I feel like that is her happy place. She may be the one who's coming through that has a bit more of that quietness to her, softness to her, a lady who is very beautiful in her nature and very well loved. And she's talking about also having an operation where they put some kind of metal rod into her. I don't know what that is. Something about a metal rod going into her leg and it being something that she put off for quite a long amount of time. Again, I wonder where I'm going with this, where it is, because they're, like I said, they're all, I'm like, take a ticket, come on, wait your turn. I feel like they're all sliding in on top of each other. But someone understand this lady feels very quintessential granny, quiet, sweet, lives alone, put off this operation that she needed, putting a rod into my leg. Is that for you, Gloria?
I feel like it's Elizabeth's nanny who actually lost her leg in the end.
Oh, wow. Okay. And was that because she kept on putting something off?
Could well have been. She would never have told us. She was a very private person.
Okay. And it was her right leg?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And Elizabeth's grandmother, is this on, as in your mother or your husband's mum?
It was Elizabeth's dad's mum.
The link I'm trying to make here. They're very sweet, loves her garden, loves butterflies, and that's how she comes through. I know that is where she takes me here. And there's like an E name.
Oh, yes, that's her. She was Evelyn.
Eve, right. Evelyn. I know you're English, so I don't want to like just go with that, but she feels real British. She feels really like soft-spoken, very polite. Do you remember her making this sound a lot? Like, ooh. Does that sound like her? I don't know why I have to say that. Like, oh, no. Ooh. That's kind of the feeling of her.
I would say so, yes.
And I wonder if she has this like musician that she's absolutely obsessed with.
It could be my mum. She really loved music. And there were certain songs that, strangely enough, I've heard twice this week on the radio, and they're very, very old songs. And I'm really taken aback that I've heard these songs, and I had quite an experience this week.
Oh, sweet. Okay. she's saying she saw me. She saw
I
me.
did.
Oh, wow. She saw me. And that's never happened before. Is that right?
No, it hasn't.
She's got
Nobody
It was-
knows this but Elizabeth. Elizabeth is the only person who I've told, and I saw her this week.
Wow. She's making a joke about it. She's going, gotcha. I feel like that's her humor, though. Is that right? Like, she's just
It would be. It would be.
yeah. Well, know that she tries her hardest to get in there, and I feel like she does come through quite a lot. But for some, I feel like if she was here today, she should be diagnosed with ADHD for sure. She is like all over the place with her thoughts. I'm like, slow down, come and talk to me without getting distracted for 1 second. But I do feel like there's embroidery that she knows you've held on to.
Yeah, I do hold on to possessions connected with her.
Something that's like a material that's had something sewn into it that she wants you to know about. And she's saying, when are you going to go over to Australia?
I'm here.
Oh, you are? Like,
Just on holiday.
You're just on holiday. Okay. And it's been like a long time coming, is that right?
8 years.
Wow.
8 years.
Wow.
This is a huge step for me to get here.
Oh, wow. She's saying like she's been pushing you and has been with you and trying to orchestrate everything so that it happens. And she knows that you're a little bit stressed out about what's going on back home, or that you're not there to help out. But she's saying everything's going to be fine. Don't need to worry. You're exactly where you're meant to be. And she's so happy that you finally made it here. So I feel if she says this to me, like, when are you going to Australia? When are you going to get over there? When's it going to happen? And she loves that you've made that happen and you're here now. So she's just like coming and kissing you on the head and saying, good girl. I don't know why she does that.
She knows how important this was to me.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
she does.
And Liz, I do feel also you're somewhat of the golden child to her as well. Is that right?
Definitely.
She's
The
saying,
favourite.
Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. And
Yeah.
I feel like loves everyone with all of their heart, but she is recognizing that particular closeness with each of you and how you've both kept her so alive. Was she into the royal family as well? She's showing me like
Yes.
the Queen and her little Scotty dogs, like the little white dogs that the Queen had, and her having a particular fascination with that. Maybe even where she brought little things that were like pictures of them or things into her home. I feel like she'd be the one to have the things stuck in her window out the front when it was like the time of royal things happening, or she put a flag up.
Absolutely. That sounds like her. Thank you, Sean.
I'm glad I managed to work out where everyone was coming in from. So I'm sorry if we've gone over time, but couldn't leave them hanging, especially in this important time.
That
Sean,
was incredible.
incredible. I couldn't thank you enough, Sean.
Oh, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. You've made this trip even more special.
Oh, that's so nice. My
Thank you so much. Thank you.
pleasure. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope, like, even if you didn't get a direct message tonight, you can just feel the presence of spirit with you, and that they're never not there.
Oh, Sean, that was just magical to witness. And, you know, just thank you for the gift of your time and for your amazing gift. Like, it's just given to so many people. And if anything, we all leave this knowing that our loved ones are so much closer than we think they are. And, you know, it opens us all up to connecting with them that little bit more, or doing something over the Christmas period that just brings them closer to us. So, oh, I feel absolutely brimming with love and connection. Like, just so beautiful to witness everybody who had a connection there. But even just, you know, when you're here and you're looking at all the different faces on the screen as everyone has lit up with just anticipation for what is to come. So huge thank you from all of us here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I've loved every minute.
We will definitely be sharing all of the information on your retreats. Of course, we'll be definitely waiting for your book as well. So yeah, we'll be waiting. The countdown's already happening until next Christmas in my eyes, Sean.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah, keep it going. Oh, and to everyone who has either been with us today or has tuned in to listen to this absolutely beautiful Christmas Connections, thank you so much. Thank you for being with us all year long. It's been such an incredible Spiritual as Fuck ride as always. So thank you for coming along on the journey with us. So Merry Christmas. Have an incredible last few days of the year. For us, we have one more episode before the end of the year, which is going to be very, very special too. So make sure you tune in, and we cannot wait to be back in 2025. Thank you.
That's it for another episode. Thank you for listening.
If you're looking for a place to feel at home and want to level up your spiritual game, head to our website, spiritualaf.co, to check out our upcoming online events and for information on how to join our Spiritual Renegades community.
Plus, leave us a 5-star review with an awesome comment on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and we're going to send you a free ticket to one of our Supercharged session events.
Until next time, stay spiritual as fuck.